Hey guys, welcome to Main Street Living. Glad that you are joining us. I'm Quincy Carr.
I'm Brandy Paul.
I'm Cheryl Nelson, happy to be here. And it is springtime, it's wedding season. I'm actually helping a lot of people plan their weddings. I do some wedding coordination on the side. It's something I enjoy. So it makes me think, what was it like planning your weddings?
Well, Cheryl, another reason to follow you on Instagram so I can see all of that insider wedding planning. I could have used that. I planned mine for the hottest day in Nebraska that year. I'm not kidding. It hit 103, I think. Outside photos were no fun.
I hope you had a strapless wedding dress or something.
I did, but the veil and the hair and the heat, it was very sweaty.
Oh, yes.
Well,
cute. What about you?
Well, Brandy, you had the heat and the sweltering, hotness and all that stuff, and we had a wedding 2 days after Hurricane Isabel had hit. I think it was a cat 2 or something.
Ooh.
So yeah, it was no electricity in a lot of places, very limited water, but we made it happen, and the hotel got us going, and that was 20 years ago almost.
Thanks to the hotel generator. Generator got you through.
Yeah. How about you, Cheryl?
Yeah, for me, it was also a long time ago, but I planned everything. My husband kind of sat back and just let me do my thing, which was great because I'm very type A and I had a lot of fun. And
Good.
speaking of great stuff, we've got a great show today. In fact, if you have questions about stuff, down there, we're going to talk to Doctor down below.
That's right. And this is a great show for women everywhere. If you are a mom, we have great advice on a children's museum activity and also how you can inspire your daughters. Women's soccer on the rise.
Yeah, women doing it all, and so are you, Brandon. We'll talk about that, including men baseball for seniors.
First, wedding tips for grooms. Stay tuned.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Main Street Living. It is finally that time of year. It's wonderful out, spring, flowers, sunshine, and Quincy's favorite, weddings.
Oh, cute. Yes, lots of weddings. And if you're planning a wedding or even planning to attend a wedding this year, Dustin Sitar with the Grooms Club has some tips to make it easier. Welcome to Main Street Living.
Excited to be here. Thank you.
Hey there, Dustin. Apparently, I did not know I'm a fan of weddings. I mean, I've only done it one time. Look, the most important information we find online about weddings is focused on the bride, obviously, right? So what are some of the things that grooms should keep in mind as they are planning for their wedding?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think starting out, it's really important for the groom to realize that this is his wedding as well. And so really by starting with communication, like what do you want to get out of your wedding? And how can you be part of it in significant ways? This goes a long ways in sort of two directions. One, it makes you part of it with the bride, and it also kind of gets you, in the good graces, because you're leaning in and taking part of it. So I think, that's the number one thing, is realize this is sort of a partnership that's starting out. So take part in the wedding process.
This is so nice. And I'm sure there's a lot of grooms out there who would like to take part. Now, my husband didn't want any part of it. I did all the planning. But for bridesmaids and groomsmen, I'm sure there's some groomsmen out there as well who would like to help out. And there's tons of info for bridesmaids. But what advice would you share for groomsmen who really want to be part of the wedding and engagement events and even some of the planning?
Yeah, I say, groomsmen definitely have responsibilities during the wedding, and so making sure you understand your responsibilities are a great way. You're not there just to party and have a good time.
Right.
You're there to be part of the process. And with that, I think groomsmen struggle with this more than bridesmaids. Be on time, be respectful of the process, because there's going to be a lot of people that you are supporting character of. And so making sure you're doing that is really a big deal. And for every event, make sure you dress appropriately. It's not a time for break out the tank tops, even though, there wasn't an official outfit for maybe the rehearsal dinner. Make sure you're dressing well.
I'm glad you said that, actually, because I was just at a wedding and the groomsmen all showed up late the day of, and the poor bride was stressed out. So very good point there.
Well, that's
Yeah.
probably because they didn't have a Grooms Club. So, Dustin,
Mhm.
Yeah.
tell us why you created this website and how you're helping grooms and groomsmen.
Yeah, so the inspiration came from the website came when post marriage I was hanging out with some other married friends at a bar, and we were all talking about our wedding experience and how we kind of felt on our own. Like we were kind of navigating the process while the bride had all the support, and we kind of just realized at that time that we all felt like we were on a life raft by ourselves. And so the inspiration
Hmm.
came like, hey, can lean in here, really offer support for grooms that are going through the process that ends up making the process and the wedding better for both the groom and the bride.
Oh,
Mm.
this is so fun. It's so much more inclusive this way. And there's always new hot trends coming out for brides and bridesmaids. So, what about hot trends for grooms and groomsmen this year?
Yeah, I would say that we're really seeing grooms and groomsmen lean into like mix match suits,
Oh,
just not one color, sort of mixing browns or something like that.
mm,
Wow.
And then something that's a little unique is that we're really seeing like off-white and sandy toned,
wow.
tuxedos being worn by the groom. I personally wore a off-white tuxedo in 2015. So I just consider that maybe I was way ahead of the trend there. Definitely had to, sort of get that one past my bride. Um, so I would say that those are a couple big things there. And then really we're seeing personalization kind of take off. Even if you're wearing something more, toned down, really accenting it with your personality, whether it's socks or a bow tie, there's great ways to lean into something that's really personalized.
Really personalized. Now, I know we kind of touched on this with the tank tops that Cheryl saw at the last wedding that she was at, and you're talking about the different ways to wear the different colors. So, are there any other etiquette and fashion do's and don'ts that male guests should be aware of?
Hmm.
Yeah, as a guest, luckily the wedding party will often send you an invitation with the attire on it. So pay a
Mhm.
lot of attention there. If you start and pay attention to that, you're already way ahead of a lot of people. If you have questions, reach out to the groom or some of the groomsmen to find out like, hey, I don't really understand what, formal attire is. So I'd say that's really important for guests. I'd say it is a party, but you don't want to go overboard. Like, don't get too, intoxicated while you're there. And this happens even more often, in summer weddings where you're
Mm.
outside, it's hot, those drinks hit you a lot faster and go a lot quicker. And then, also be respectful during the ceremony. It's not your time to shine. You're there to observe. So if you're a guest, make sure you're there to, phones off, everything's taken care of.
Yes, I'm glad that you said that as well. And it's interesting because the groomsmen, you mentioned they have responsibilities. At this last wedding that I mentioned, the groomsmen, it seemed like after the ceremony, they were just, gone after the reception. And meanwhile, the bridesmaids and our husbands were helping clean up and pick up everything from the tables. And I'm going, where are the groomsmen? So any final tips or insights? Quincy's laughing for grooms, groomsmen, or anybody else's wedding season.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'm sorry that happened. And really, the groom should be informing the best man to delegate responsibility because he
Oh,
has a lot going on during the
yes.
reception. He's going to be in charge of making sure that the bride is taken care of, interacting with lots of family members. So making sure that your best man is somebody that's going to be responsible and holding the other groomsmen accountable, I would say is a really important tip there. And I would say also make sure, especially with the summer months coming up, you stay hydrated. We talked about how the drinking can get out of control. If you're a groomsman or a groom, it's easy to get distracted during the week leading up to it and not hydrate enough. If you hydrate pretty well, it's a little easier to do shots at the wedding and be in a good shape because particularly if you're the groom, everybody that you've ever met will be like, hey, come do a shot with me. It's time to
Yes.
celebrate.
Listen to you. You have it down. You know how this works.
For sure. And at the end of the day, a wedding is a time to have fun.
There you
So
go.
enjoy it. Enjoy it because, for it only happens a couple times if you're the groom, hopefully only once. And then, if you're a guest, you got those time periods in your life where you get to attend a lot of weddings.
Yeah.
But, once you get past your 20s and 30s, they happen less often. You're often taking, kids to it. So make sure you enjoy those weddings.
There you go, Dustin. Thank you so much. And we appreciate you stopping by. And it's pretty cool. You got the Grooms Club. That's your information right there on the screen. And keep making weddings fun for men.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love it.
Oh, awesome. Well, it is not a game, Cheryl. It is not a game, but neither is it when you are getting old, huh? But it's a lot of fun. Stick around and see what I'm talking about up next.
Welcome back. All right. There are so many reasons to love summertime, but baseball fan at heart. One of the best things, America's pastime, baseball season.
That's right, Brandy. Oh, yeah, that's right. We all love to take in the game, of course, but for lots of people, that means playing as well as watching.
Get this, for one group of guys in Arizona, baseball never gets old. And you'll see what I mean. Check this out.
Hey, boys, who's going now? Who's there now, boys?
You got the book.
I got it. I'll take
it. A lot of people, when I tell them that we're playing, or that I'm playing in a 60-plus baseball, they think it's like slow pitch or softball. This is hardball. It's baseball. It's baseball rules. My name's Wayne Ellen, and I'm one of the Arizona Coaldale Red Sox. I actually play on it and manage the team, and we have a great bunch of guys. It's a lot of fun.
I'm Joe O'Brien. I am the president of the league, and I am also the 35 Mariners first baseman. Oh, no. Woo! He pulled a Joe! He pulled a Joe! The league started back in 1988, and there was 3 or 4 teams tops. It has grown now in 2020 to 48 teams. We have an 18, a 35, 45, and we also have a 60-year-old division.
Jim Botton's DH and batting
Hey,
8.
guys.
Neil Hancock,
Good.
DH and going to pitch some, batting 9.
I'm probably the oldest at 82. Most of the guys are going to be in their 60s. You're going to have some guys in the 70s. Everybody just trying to do the best that he can with whatever skills he has left at this stage in his life.
I'm Ernie Barton. I'm the manager of the Arizona Rangers men's 16 over baseball team. I'm also a board member, have been for about 15 years. Been playing in the league for about 30 years. This is a sport that we started playing when we were 10, 12 years old, and we just love it so much we just can't get enough.
Attaboy, Orlando!
Luckily, we have men's senior baseball league that can provide us the opportunity to continue to play this sport that we have such a passion over.
I love playing with these guys. These guys are just super, super fun. The banter.
You got a runner naturally because you're slow. So.
Hi, my name is. With our group, it's like kind of something special. It's really a lot of fun. Thanks for coming. Let's have a fun Tuesday.
Hey, Mariners on 3, guys. 1, 2, 3. Mariners!
We get to keep living the dream. You know, baseball doesn't stop after high school or college anymore.
Okay, guys, the one guy who said he's 82. Yeah. 82, not only how do you swing the bat, but how do you run and play and see, and amazing.
Yeah, clearly they stay in shape, and these papas are like they're living out the rest of their days the right way, I would think. But the best thing I think is, what if they actually had a 20-year-old coach, and then they can tell them, they can constantly be like, hey, you shush, you don't know enough.
I love it. And this is happening everywhere. There are men's senior baseball league affiliates all across the country. Get this, with more than 45,000 members. So whatever your skill level, if you have passion, you can play. If you love baseball, just find your local club at msblnational.com.
That's right. And of course, I'm sure these men might need a doctor, but if you need a doctor, we got one with an important message coming up after the break. Stay right there. Hey guys, welcome back to Main Street Living. Now, Cheryl, Brandy, there are many stereotypes out there about men, of course, and many of them have at least a little bit of truth. I mean, take today's show, for instance, right? You can see we don't want to be in charge of planning our own wedding. We do like sports, but we kind of don't like going to the doctor, right?
Oh, all right. Well, Quincy, we're going to try and change your mind on that last point because we have a doctor here with us today who specializes in some very sensitive parts, but also seems like a heck of a lot of fun. Please welcome Dr. Fenwa Milhouse. And thank you so much for joining us, Doc. We're so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you, ladies. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk about this and get men to change their minds about going to.
All right. So let's start. You are a urologist. So what is all involved in urology?
Urology is a surgical specialty. We deal with the urinary system, so the parts of the body that urine bypasses through, and we also treat the male reproductive system. We have many different subspecialties within urology, and once really thought of as for men by men, we treat all people or persons because anybody who makes urine might need to see a urologist, and we also deal with specific diseases that affect vulva owners or women.
Wow, I'm glad that you said that because you're right. A lot of people think if they have an issue down there, they go to their OBGYN. And it's embarrassing when we have issues down there because it's hard to talk about, not to mention show it to the doctor. So that's why people tend to skip these visits and they don't want to go. So what is your message to those who have issues or are embarrassed about getting checked?
Yeah, my message is to, number one, to understand that you're going through something that probably tons of other people are also going through, but everybody's just quiet. Everybody's trying to keep it to themselves. Everybody's, holding it in. So you are not alone. A lot of these down there issues are quite common. Number two, please know that a lot of these down there issues, we have potential solutions for you. There are options. I think a lot of the narrative or assumption, I should say, is that, well, there's nothing that can be done. This is just a normal part of, being a man, or normal part of being a woman, or normal part of getting older, having babies. And it's not normal. It's common, but common doesn't equal normal. And we have options to help you. And so why live that way when you can live a better, fuller life?
Great advice. All right. You've been sharing some of that advice on social media. You have a huge following. So I'm curious to hear what made you start engaging with folks on that platform?
Well, because there's a dearth of information regarding urology and what we do. There's a decent amount of misinformation. So the wrong information, if you turn to Dr. Google and ask them about something down there, oftentimes it's, might be misinformed. So I love what I do. I love being a urologist. I love talking about the nether regions and the private areas and pee. And so I wanted to share with the world and educate and bring humor to it, because I think infusing humor in these problems allows people to not feel so embarrassed, allows people to open up and feel more comfortable talking about it. And I usually use myself in the humor, The other thing is I wanted to show representation within medicine. I think it's really important that the world sees that, a urologist that looks like me. When you think of urology, you don't exactly think of a young Black woman with locks and a nose ring, but here I am to show diversity within the medical field and to inspire diversity within our medical field.
You're amazing. And I love what you're doing. And on social media too, you're getting that following and you're getting people to open up and actually learn. Why do you think so many people are drawn to social media in particular for healthcare advice? I mean, because we can Google it, but why are people going to social?
We use social in our lives. I mean, I'm on social. I use YouTube to teach me how to do things around the house. Okay. That's the use of social media. I like to communicate with friends on Instagram. I like to look at funny videos on TikTok. I'll even find, oh, where's the best restaurant around Chicago? I can find that on TikTok now. So we're using social media in our lives in multiple facets. Why wouldn't people flock to social media to use it to get health questions answered?
Mm-hmm.
And there are more and more of us professionals in social media that are, understanding that the value that we're providing by showing and teaching the public what we do, things and tips, and talk about the diseases that we treat.
And meanwhile, TV is still kind of, the golden standard. People are turning to that. They love their favorite shows. And now you have this brand new, widely popular show on TLC, Dr. Down Below.
Yes.
I know, I love it. You've kind of touched on this, but why was it so important to bring this topic to even more people?
Mm-hmm.
Because no one knows about it and no one talks about it. No one talks about this, the waist below nether regions. And it's comes with a lot of like stigma, with shame and guilt in some. You see that on the pilot episode with some of the individuals that I was fortunate enough to treat and help. And I think it's important to highlight this and to humanize these conditions, destigmatize, demystify these conditions. It has absolutely, without a doubt, started conversations at home, started conversations with people seeking medical treatment. I know in my own practice here in Chicago, Down There Urology, I'm seeing flocks of patients who say, I saw your show and I decided, you know what, I don't want to deal with what's down there anymore. I'm not ashamed about it. Here, can you help me?
Yes, because everybody has a down there. So I don't know why we're all so embarrassed to talk about it. And it's great that you're doing this show, and obviously it's popular. Were you surprised that it got so popular so quickly?
I kind of was. I mean, I love what I do.
Yeah.
I know that I think it's fun, but I didn't expect the country and even the world, because there's a British show and part of their show featured my show, and they were, jabbing about it and and enjoying it. And I'm overwhelmed and excited about the reception. I'm so glad that people understand what the heart of the show is. And really the heart of the show is to educate, demystify, destigmatize these things. So I'm very pleased. And again, surprisingly shocked at the outpouring and the positive reception.
Well, we can't wait to see it, have our viewers see it. Where can they find out more about the show and your practice?
Yeah, so right now it's just a pilot episode, but DVR it wherever you can get TLC or Discovery Plus, Dr. Down Below. Look forward to a season near you, and you can start to see more of me, learn from me right now. I'm on it all over Instagram at Dr. Milhouse. That's Milhouse with one L. If you hashtag your favorite urologist, that's me. I'm America's your favorite urologist. I'm on TikTok at your favorite urologist. And also my website, which is my practice, Down There Urology. You can see the website link, www.downthereurology.com.
You're a genius too with everything you've done with that name. I mean, that alone is getting people's attention. So thank you so much. I'm going to follow you on Instagram right now.
Yay.
Appreciate it. All right, Brandy, that was so much fun. And speaking of fun, you just competed in the Mrs. Nebraska America pageant. We got to find out what happened, but stay tuned. We'll talk about it after the break. Welcome back to Main Street Living. Quincy, Brandy, our loyal viewers out there probably remember that a few weeks ago we chatted with Brandy about her upcoming participation in the Mrs. Nebraska America pageant. Ooh, I'm so excited about this.
That's right. Well, as we kind of know here, but you guys may not know, the competition happened a few days ago. So Brandy, fill us in. What was the competition like? What was the experience like? What did you eat immediately afterwards? Tell us.
Q, don't ask all the questions at once.
I want to know it all.
It was awesome. It was so much fun. One of the reasons I wanted to do this to begin with is to just be surrounded by like-minded women who were all strong and talented and driven and caring. I could go on. And I loved it. I loved every moment meeting these women. I ended up winning first runner-up, which in this system, thanks to a couple of incredible national owners, means I am Mrs. Nebraska American, and I also will go to compete at national competition in Las Vegas this summer.
Hold on. Explain that to us, because I saw on Instagram you said you were first runner-up, but then you had that crown. So how does that happen? Because it doesn't work like that in every pageant system.
You're right. So our wonderful Mrs. Nebraska, Alyssa Harrington, got first. So she will compete at Mrs. America. But the owners, in all of their generosity, said, we have all these incredible women. What if the scores were really close? We want to support as many women as possible. So a couple of years ago, they started saying, if you got second, you also get to go. So there'll be a Mrs. America and then a Mrs. American. And that's basically all of the first runner-ups across the country. So very honored and lucky. And that I get to go with kind of a sister, if you will, also representing Nebraska, and just get to continue what I wanted to do in the first place, impact as many people as possible and maybe inspire somebody out there that they can do whatever they want to do.
Oh, Brandy, real quick, when is that pageant? I want to go.
It is coming up in August, again in Vegas. I'm hoping that Quincy has a comedy show around the same time, so we can all like have a big Vegas splash. And
Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. Well, you know, as I asked you, because I know we're short on time, what was the first thing you ate and drank? Because you prepared for this for a long time.
Yeah, I did. And you know, I don't want to give people the perception that we starve ourselves to do this. This is all about living our best lives with fitness and nutrition and making good, healthy choices. But I tell you what, there's nothing that tastes better than a big old piece of pizza with a beautiful glass of cold champagne afterwards. I gave myself one day to go off the rails, cheeseburgers, blizzard from Dairy Queen, pasta that night.
Wow.
And now I'm back on track making healthy choices.
Good for you, though. We're so proud of you, Brandy.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Big congratulations. And you're actually kind of teeing up our next segment after the commercial break. Exciting Women's World Cup action on your view. So stay right there.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. Quincy, Brandy, soccer, or football, as the rest of the world calls it, has been the most popular sport around the globe for decades. And interest in women's sports has been on the climb lately as well. I love it. Girl power.
Heck yeah. And with the Women's World Cup just a few months away now, attention is starting to focus on these incredible female athletes and the host countries of New Zealand and Australia.
Oh, yeah. And our very own Danielle Alvari was able to catch up with one of the producers of the new show focused on Women's World Cup. Actually, the Women's World Cup called The Contenders. Ooh. This is going to run right here on Your View. Take a look.
Danielle Alvari here. Very excited to be joined by the producer of the show, The Contenders, Alex Zaya. Alex, thanks for joining us on Main Street Living.
No worries. It's great to be here.
As I mentioned, you are one of the producers of a show focused on the Women's World Cup called The Contenders. Tell the people what they'll see on this show.
So we'll be previewing all 32 nations. So we'll be looking at their previous World Cup history, their form leading into the tournament, and we'll be having a look at the lineups for all the 32 nations. And we will also be looking at some star players, profiling some star players that will be competing at the Women's World Cup. So just having a look at what they've achieved in their throughout their careers and how they're looking heading into the tournament. We'll also be looking at the growth of women's football as a whole. So we'll be talking about the booming crowd numbers, increased investment in the game. We'll be also looking at the host nations and how they're preparing for the tournament. So we'll be looking at, things like the mascot, ticket sales, the match ball, just, those little sort of, those things leading into the tournament. And we'll also be having a chat to Melissa Barbieri, who brings a wealth of big tournament experience. So she'll be talking about a range of topics and issues about the Women's World Cup and about the women's game as a whole.
That's amazing. And you touched on a lot of things I want to ask you more about. I think one of the things that really draws people into sports are the storylines. So what are some of the things we should be watching for in this year's Women's World Cup?
I think leading into the tournament, the US are once again looking like they're going to be the team to beat. So,
the contenders.
Yes. So being the two-time defending champions, they're obviously aiming for a historic three-peat of World Cups, which has never been done before in the women's game. So I think that's going to be one of the main interests at this World Cup. And then also whether some of the European nations can potentially knock the US off their perch. So we've got, the European champions England, who have obviously seen as the USA's main threat for the title. And then we've got nations like France and Spain and Germany, who are also stacked with talent and who are also viewed as some of the main contenders to win the World Cup. In England's case, they're obviously going through a bit of a rough trot at the moment. They've had a couple of serious injuries to key players such as Lee Williamson and Beth Mead, so that's obviously impacted their preparations. And it's going to be interesting to see how they can cover those injured players. And then also, looking ahead to the co-hosts, Australia and New Zealand, heading into the tournament in different sort of different expectations, I guess. I mean, New Zealand have never won a Women's World Cup game, so
sort of an underdog.
Yeah, so their form leading in hasn't been great. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. And then Australia, obviously, they've got a pretty good team, and being the host nation with the crowd behind them, I think they'll they've never also gone past the quarterfinals. So they'll be pretty keen to go deep into the tournament. And I think with the home crowd behind them, I think they're capable. And also, this World Cup is the first World Cup with 32 nations, up to 24 in 2019. So it's obviously eight nations competing at their first World Cup. So it's going to be interesting to see how competitive they are. And I think it's great that there's more nations competing, because it gives them an opportunity to strut their stuff on the biggest stage.
For sure. And it seems like you mentioned there's more interest and investment in women's sports. Where do you think that's coming from? Why do you think that's happening?
Well, I think it starts from some of the main TV broadcasters. I think, they're just, and also some of the bigger clubs in Europe, they're now starting to invest in their women's teams. And it's just improving the standard of play in the women's game.
Yeah, more coverage, more fans. And I know that your host of the Contenders is a former player. What can you tell us about Melissa Barbieri? Melissa
Barbieri has competed at 4 Women's World Cups. So she knows a thing or two about competing on the biggest stage. She's won 86 caps for Australia across her 13-year international career. And she captained Australia to our first major international title for both men and women, the 2010 Asian Cup.
So will we be seeing any of the very well-known American players on the show as well?
We will. So we'll be profiling Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan, 2 of the mainstays in the US side for a number of years. Both were very instrumental in the US winning the 2019 Women's World Cup 4 years ago, and I dare say they'll be they'll loom large again in the 2023 tournament.
Yes, and you've given us a lot to be excited about. We were very excited to get to hear from you today. Alex Zaya, producer of the show The Contenders. Thank you so much, Alex.
No worries. Thank you.
Wow. I know that was right up Danielle's alley. She's a sports girl at heart.
Oh, yes, she is. And new episodes of The Contenders will run Tuesdays at 8 o'clock and 8:30 p.m. right here on YourView. You can find out all the details on yourview.com.
Stick around with us. Next, we're going to talk about how you can help your kids grow up great.
Welcome back to Main Street Living, ladies. There's a certain image that comes to mind when we think about spending a day at the museum. But have either of you ever been to a children's museum?
Oh, yeah.
Have I? That's a good question. I guess when I was a kid, and children's museums are a whole different kind of museum experience. They're colorful and interactive and a perfect place to have a great time, also while learning a lot. So I think I should check these out again, maybe as an adult.
And you will as a parent, because I've been there a lot. PNC's Grow Up Great program is partnering with the San Diego Children's Discovery Museum to plant the seeds for a lifetime of opportunities. Take a look.
The San Diego Children's Discovery Museum is a children's museum that serves San Diego County. Our area of focus is children between the ages of 0 to 10, but primarily 0 to about the ages of 7. We pride ourselves on the fact that we teach children in an informal, experience-based environment. And our area of focus is early childhood education, but specifically foundational fluencies, social emotional learning, and purposeful play.
We not only try to provide our products and services locally, through local people, but we are involved in our communities. In order for us to do well here, we need San Diego to do well. We need to make this a place where everybody can thrive. And so it's incredibly important for us to give back and invest like this into the next generations that are coming up through our community. And so we kind of looked across the country and looked for places where it could really effectively improve communities that it did business in. It really landed on early childhood education.
We started PNC Grow Up Great in 2004. It is now a $500 million bilingual early education program, all focused on reaching young children from birth to age 5, with a particular emphasis on reaching low and moderate income children to help prepare them for school and life.
Here in San Diego, we are trying to take that initiative and give back into San Diego in the early childhood education space. And we've been looking for partners. And that's how we got to the San Diego Children's Museum.
It's actually our first partnership with the Grow Up Great program here in San Diego, and we couldn't think of a better partner.
They specifically have a new mobile unit where they bring STEM-related educational services to kids that can't make it to the museum. And so it's a great way to reach out to a lot of the underserved community in San Diego.
I think I'm going to build the castle.
We're so excited to be partnering with PNC and specifically their Grow Up Great program. The reason why it's such a great fit is we share the focus of serving children between the ages of 0 to 5. We also share a joint mission in serving children who are underserved and also extending that across the entire community. We both believe in bringing innovative platforms of learning to children all over the county.
Let's see if you can make a fort big enough for one person to be inside it.
Okay.
At a national level, the PNC employees are incredibly involved with our Grow Up Great initiative. We've donated over 1 million hours of our time investing in communities across the country. So we'll be doing days of service, going out and working with the museum and the kids in our community.
It has to stand for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I love this because as a parent, you're always looking for ways to keep your kids entertained. And if they're learning something from it and maybe growing, fantastic.
True.
Yes, and it has a lot of STEM and they come to you. That's perfect. And you can find out more about PNC and the Grow Up Great initiative at pnc.com.
All right, guys, straight ahead, more of Main Street Living. Stay right there.
Welcome back. What a great show today. And here's what I'm taking from this. We can expect Quincy's wedding part 2 all over again so he can implement all the things he's learned.
No.
Look at his face. He doesn't like that.
No, I'm almost about to hit 20 years. So one time is good for me. I'm just looking forward to playing some baseball. And if you guys missed this segment and so many of our other segments, you can always catch us on our Cox Contour app anytime.
And we've got Queen Brandy as well. One more congratulations to you. And don't forget, we have new episodes of Main Street Living Mondays, 9 p.m. local time. So join us then as we take another stroll down Main Street.